Educational institutions serve as foundational grounds where future leaders are developed and molded. Now, when we look at the pivotal role of educational institutions, you would observe that it transcends beyond just developing the academic qualities of these young ones. They also have a role in developing their character and also their leadership qualities. Today's exploration will delve into the role that educational institutions play in nurturing exceptional leaders. We are going to look at some of the initiatives, the programs, even the curriculum that these educational institutions have, which eventually will help develop the potential or the leadership potential of these young people. And I'm very, very excited about this topic. And we realized that we have been treating a series of Sundays now. We've been looking at the role of various organizations in nurturing exceptional leaders. We've spoken about the role of the family. We've looked at the role of the church. We've even looked at the role of NGOs and CSOs. And today we are going to look at the role of educational institutions. And I have two young gentlemen here to help me tackle this very important topic. And I'm very excited to hear from our guests. Karim, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And then, as usual, we have Sly with us. So Karim is an educationist. He's a youth empowerment specialist. He has expertise in leadership, education, international school settings, and there are all lots of great qualifications. I mean, if you see his CV, when I saw it, I was like, wow. I have the right man for the job. And then Sly is also a consultant, Africa and China affairs, and he's also happened to have led the education sector here at the Bayside Leadership Center. So I think it's going to be worth your time. So Karim, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Sly, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's always good to be back on this show. I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, let me bring this funny thing. Were you able to sleep soundly yesterday night?
No, I mean, I slept to a point and I realized that I was sweating. I woke up and realized that it was not because of anything, but the lights were out.
Okay, Karim, how about you?
Well, I had a good night. Okay. Fortunately for me, on my part, my lights were on.
Hey, you don't live in private areas.
So I had a good night, actually.
Okay. You can imagine heat, sweat. It really can affect you.
Well,
but I'm glad that Karim, you were able to sleep sound because we need you for today's discussion. We need you to be in that perfect condition.
That's true. Yeah.
So tell us, you've been in the education sector for a while now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've observed certain policies, different kind of curriculum. And yours is unique because you are in the international school setting. So what are some of the things that you have observed from your years of teaching young people within the sector that you think have helped in nurturing young people, especially when it comes to their leadership potential?
Thank you. So if I cast my mind back, it has not really been private schools throughout. I've had some experiences teaching in public school. And also the experiences differ from areas. I've had some experiences teaching in rural settings. And then I've also had some experiences teaching over here. One thing you realize is that the society, right, the socioeconomic dynamics affects the mindset and then also what you can do. For schools, usually we are like the child's second home. These days, we are almost the first home.
Yeah.
Because we are always with the children.
It's true. Especially because, I mean, if a young person spends 5 days in school and has to do maybe an extra classes on Saturday, that's 6 out of 7. That's a lot of time.
So almost like their first home.
And then when we give them a lot of homework, that means that even the time they spend at school is for homework.
Yeah.
That's true.
So basically,
I've actually never thought about it like this. That's a lot.
So because of that, there is a lot of responsibility on today's teacher to protect the child. Child protection is one of the core values a teacher must have in mind. But mostly when I say protect the child, that's just like the big word for everything. But within it is for the teacher himself to present himself as the leader that the child will learn from, then imbibe the leadership qualities that the child has to exhibit. One thing you realize is that in the rural settings, what you have to transmit to the child quite differs from the urban setting. In the rural areas, children usually have a different mindset of what leadership is. Very, very bereft of role models. Don't really see enough people to copy and learn from. May not even have goals and ambitions because they don't really know what's next. The focus is on the now because parents are probably poor and all that. But in the upper areas or in the urban areas, even if parents are not really well-to-do, the children can see certain qualities around them. They see people wake up and go to the office. They see police officers. They see soldiers. And so these people, they look at them and they're like, okay, I could be this or I could be that.
It's natural inspiration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in some of the areas, it's very difficult. So then there is a lot more responsibility on the teacher to transmit some of this. Now, what bridges this gap sometimes is the curriculum. When the curriculum covers some of this. So you realize that through the curriculum, through their reading, through their exposure, children get to be aware of certain things. And currently, our focus as schools has moved greatly from too much emphasis on content to making the children learners, lifelong learners.
Wow.
And then we look at, so to even summarize this, I'll say we focus mostly on global citizenship because now, you know, the world is global village.
Yeah.
We look at digital learning
Wow.
and then high level learning.
Wow.
That's-
All this in Ghana. Wow.
So that's our focus now in education. That our children have the capacity to adapt to changes, to continue learning as they grow, to be very innovative, very communicative, collaborative, and then as well be able to be learners by themselves, not by being told to do. So basically, to give you a brief background of what we are looking at now, that's where we are now. In time past, you know, it's preparing the children for exams.
Yes.
Now it's preparing the children for the world.
Yes.
And that's is a whole lot of work.
Wow.
Yeah, basically. So that's what we are doing now.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, all this happening in Ghana, that's very good.
yeah. And for me, I've also realized that, especially the international schools, right, the private schools, which is unfortunate because everyone deserves, you know, this kind of education. But unfortunately, we see it more in the private schools where these students are not only, like he said, to use his words, not only being prepared for exams, but prepared for life. I mean, that's how I want to look at it. And that is very important, you know. And I'll be very happy to know how schools are intentionally even inculcating in these children leadership qualities, right? So not just preparing them for the global world, but specifically to take up leadership positions or to do well when the leadership positions present themselves, you know, that kind of thing. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Hamid since he's in that space, right?
Definitely.
You know, has he seen, has he observed, has he experienced, you know, how certain curriculums, so is it curricular, you know, whatever, you know, have been put together to intentionally make sure that there are leadership qualities that are instilled in this child. I don't know if he has observed anything like that or heard of anything like that.
Yes. So if I use myself, for example, right, when I jump into the some of the non-Ghanaian curriculum we study now, one thing I realized is that I myself should be open to learning.
Okay.
So the content itself presents the opportunity for children to be learners and achievers because the content is diverse, it's deliberately planned, and then interconnected as well. So probably the era that maybe a child is in school to learn English or maths and science and those things, you will find out that for most content of the curriculum is interconnected. For example, I have been teaching English for a while. Now, you realize that in some of the comprehension texts that they put in the English language, they have connections to using digital skills. If I want the children to go and do research, if I want them to submit their work via email, if I want them to watch out for a video on YouTube and stuff like that. There are some that are also targeted at what we call their creativity. Bringing out artworks, paintings, designs, and stuff like that. Then there are also aspects of the curriculum that focuses on globalization, right? The new age. How do you associate with people of different race, different class? And most importantly, emotions, right? Emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and things like that. So within the content, you see this subtle effort to touch on those basic things that a child needs as they grow. And while that is very helpful, you realize that you can observe. Yesterday, I was telling someone that children should be allowed to be children because at every age, there is an experience to be acquired. So you watch a child maybe come to year 3, you watch his emotional intelligence, he gets to year 5 and you're like, oh, that's you. Do you remember how you used to be? And stuff like that.
Nice.
So the content of the curriculum itself has a way of provoking the child's mindset and shaping the mindset.
I love to hear this, because so he touched on emotional intelligence. He touched on creativity. He touched on how to embrace different cultures. These qualities are important for leaders, right? As a leader, you need to be creative. So talking about Ghana, for instance, with all the problems we have, we need creative leaders to navigate and find solutions to them. So if these children are being, exposed to creativity and emotional intelligence, and also, again, for instance, when a child grows and they get into leadership positions, how do you manage issues that can easily trigger your emotions? So right from childhood, you are being taught how to manage emotions, how to be intelligent about, when issues are, going haywire. We have, in energy crisis, you have teachers calling on you to do this. I'm just trying to use the example of a president. Let's say this child becomes a president. You have energy issues, you have, public issues and all of that. How do you manage them? So these are very important, and I'm happy that,
schools, like I said, schools have become very important. That's one thing I enjoy about teaching. Because it gives you a lot of opportunity to make impact. I don't think there's any platform that gives you a lot of opportunity to make impact than teaching. So for example, last week I was having a conversation with one of my supervisors, and we said, okay, look, we are having 1 or 2 children who say, I can't do this. How on earth am I going to do it? So what do we do? And then we sat down, we thought about it for a while. Then we said, okay, you know what? We're going to get these children to come out, read out affirmation texts. Then we record it, put a music in the background. And then while they're having snacks or lunch, we play it. They listen to their own voices over and over again. Hopefully, within a month or 2, that this will kind of inspire some positivity in them more than they always having the idea that the first reaction is, I can't do it. The first reaction should be, I want to try it. Then I can do it. And then you actually do it. So teaching is good in the modern day if all the factors are very necessary. But then, like I said, it gives you the opportunity to really influence behavior. And you also see, over time, you see the influence you put out there. When I was teaching in the basic school, when I used to teach, let me say 8-9 years ago, when I was teaching at the rural communities, what I did was to get involved in children's life. Now, and around the schools, that's what we did. Now, the reason we did that was because in the rural setting, the life of the children differs from, like I said, this part of, and they are also, it's easy for them to be taken advantage of. If you look at all the, for example, teenage pregnancy statistics in Ghana, it's mostly the rural communities. And that's because children really like guidance, not because children are bad. Of course, children may be bad. I don't believe that children are bad. I think we make them bad. So we can say children are bad, that's fine, but I don't believe that. But usually the influence can be too much for children and they'll fall for it, right? So we, as a community, decided that we get involved in the children's life. Which means that at every least time they have, it will revolve around school and school activity, sports, drawings, presentations, wheeling around the school, talking to each other, playing volleyball, engaging them in school activity. And while doing so, you have people talking to them, right? You have, for example, the girls have a club that then we put one of the teachers they really respect as their mentor, and then she talks to them about hygiene, for example. Girls
So
hygiene.
all these are done after class hours.
Yes, after class hours, weekends, because in small communities, you can always get the children to come to school when there is something going on in the school.
Okay.
Instead of walking around,
Yeah.
once they know something is happening in the school, they'll come to the school and then they'll get involved. And by so doing, you're able to get children to start from one and get to JHS3 and graduate
Nice.
without getting pregnant. That is on that side.
Wow.
Now, on this side, in areas like this, you cannot be too involved in the child's life because the child has a whole life set for them. Some parents have actually set out the goals their children have to achieve, right? But yours is to design programs with the parents in mind that help the child. Yes. So, for example, if the child's strength is art, you leverage on art to get the child to do more. If it's on communication, they lead communications. They lead presentations and stuff like that. Now, the year-long curriculum is different, but we also have pack and sets of activities that are organized, targeted at bringing out the best in the children. So, for example, I talk about global citizenship, right? So we design deliberately what we call intercultural festivals and meetings where people of different culture come to tell us about their culture, their food, they share their food with everyone else, and then what makes them unique. What we want to do is that while we are doing that, we are promoting tolerance. We are promoting people who can see everyone as the same and don't look beyond the skin color. Or they can tell that this is my friend, this is my brother. In the classroom, in relation to that, collaboration, group activities, team work activities on the field, in the classroom, competitions that requires you to work together whenever you like it. So stuff like that gets you. And then even at the cafeteria, right, when you are going to have your lunch or your snack, the next person you are going to sit by may not be your friend, but you have to sit by him and eat. If your spoon falls, he'll pick it for you, right? If you're going to take water, he'll make sure there's no fly on your food. I mean, so those kind of
I love it.
Makes the
We couldn't have gotten any other person to give us this nuance. I love
insight.
I love it already.
In the international school setting, and I believe, Karim, these things can be easily adopted by some of the public schools, right?
Yes. Honestly, I think that we have the best of minds in our public schools. Yes. I always say this all the time. I think that's why we are talking here, right? The problem is leadership. And once we don't get the leadership right, a lot of things can go wrong. I don't think there's anything exceptional that private schools do that public schools cannot do. Sometimes people go teachers from public schools should take their children and go and put them in private school where SS. By the way, private schools are no longer run by SS student graduates. Let's get that straight. Most private schools are now required to have professionals by law. But the difference is with supervision and allocation of resources. You understand? We take certain things for granted. One challenge I have with is the way we build our schools, for example. We build a long building and that is it. There is nothing about the structure that inspires learning. There are no playgrounds, there are no artworks, there are no designs, there is no music. There's nothing that inspires learning. All the children have to do is walk in the class, take your books, write notes, read. That's too much, right? You can't get it. Look at you, right? When you sit behind your computer or you write for a long time, how do you feel? You feel tired. You need something else. And we learn in many other ways, not just reading and writing. And that's the biggest challenge we have now. The public schools have the opportunity to influence a lot more children because they have more numbers.
Yes.
And I sincerely believe that teachers in the public schools are capable of doing this. if the right leadership is provided. One, I think, has to do with adjustments in the curriculum. So in 2019, when the curriculum was being changed, I was quite excited because I thought some subjects would be cut out and then some subjects should be merged. Yep. You know, these days we say ICT, and then we are teaching children Word, PowerPoint. Those things are not things that children should be learning as topics. Those things are things that children should be learning as part of other topics.
Okay.
I don't know if you get what I mean. If they are learning social studies, they should be learning how to make presentations
using Word
or
PowerPoint,
PowerPoint, how to submit assignments via email. Those things are skills they will acquire in learning other subjects. What we want them to do is how to use the computer wisely, decisively, ethical use of the internet, research skills. You understand? These days we've gone into robotics, programming, and stuff like that. That's what we want the children to do. Things like, and then we have the most sad part of children having to learn ICT on the blackboard without seeing the computers. And I don't think it's not beyond leadership to provide computers for every school if they want to.
Yeah.
Or if you can't even provide for every school, you can have community labs, right?
Yeah.
Where the whole community, there are maybe 200 or 300 computers there. Every day of the week, one school or two schools go there, and then they run that shift. Then they come back equipped. You understand?
Well,
another thing is with programs. One difference I've observed between public and private schools is that programs are essential in private schools. Programs such as, like I mentioned, intercultural festival, we have fairs, art fairs, science fairs, languages week.
The exposure these things give.
Those things, I have not seen a lot of emphasis in the design of the curriculum. So when the curriculum comes, when the academic calendar comes, academic calendar, it tells you, okay, this first week is this, second week is week that. And then in between the weeks should be deliberate programs that influence learning and not necessarily just reading and writing, like I said. So if you don't have these programs in there, the teacher cannot do much. The teacher cannot do magic, right? What we used to have traditionally was sports, which is great, but there could be more, right? We could pick mathematics week. We are having a campaign to get people to like maths, to get those who like maths to enjoy doing maths, to get people celebrated for knowing something. Now, imagine you are very good at maths, right? And then in the maths week, the spotlight is on you. So you get to demonstrate what you know. That's confidence building. Yes. Language week, the French students get to demonstrate what they know. If it's English week, they get to demonstrate. Science week, they get to demonstrate what they know. Arts, music, sports, so everyone gets an opportunity to show how special they are. In that case, you are not only building confidence, you are making them realize that every aspect of this system is essential.
I think unless Karim catches breath and come on to you, it's like, so tell me, when during your schooling days, were there some curriculum or programs that you think has really helped you with your leadership, like have shaped your leadership?
Which stage of my school days are we talking about?
From primary to mid.
Yeah, so I'm one of those, who have been fortunate to hold leadership positions right from basic school. The SP thing that we know. You become the SP in primary, you become the SP by the way, senior prefects, I think that's the meaning, and in SHS and all of that. I think those things actually shaped me, honestly, because at that age, I even had ways of managing the students, making sure that they are productive and those kind of things. So I think all in all, even though probably just not consciously, unconsciously, I think that I built it. And then I got to, senior high school. It was basic. It was not the school level. And then I get to the university, and then I also took up some leadership positions. I must say that I went for them. Okay. Right. I intentionally vied for some of them or wanted to be, it's different from those other ones where you are being begged. I know back in school, some people I beg, like, okay, please, we want you to become the ASP, we want you to become this because we think you can do it. That self-confidence is not there. So when I go to the university level, I intentionally went out for someone because I knew that they would shape my leadership qualities.
Yeah, but how did you get to that knowledge? Like, I mean, you probably started from somewhere.
Well, probably home, because I grew up seeing my senior brothers being SPs, so it's like running in the family kind of.
Yeah.
My senior sisters were GPs, like that kind of thing. So naturally you grew and you are like, these things, okay, I can also do this, right? My mom was a teacher,
Okay.
so those kind of things. Yeah, dad was also an educationist, circuit supervisor and those kind of things. So I believe probably the environment influenced those things. Yeah. So that is why going back to family is also important. We treated the family's role in nurturing leaders. I think it's very important. How to inspire the child in the home, right? Motivate the child in the home, inspire the child, let them know that they can do it.
Yeah.
Or let them naturally feel like they can do it because of what is happening. Yeah. We're talking about the fact that even in the church, teachers, the Sunday school teachers should let their lives be a testimony to the kids, right? So all this kind of forms a part of, who you become in the future. And I believe, that's what happened.
Okay, so there's this popular slogan that teachers say, which I believe, Karim, you already know. They say, "Oh, all professions can boast, but the teacher taught them all."
Absolutely.
So I'm sure there have been times where my mom was a teacher.
Okay.
So I'm sure there have been times where, as a teacher, you watch the television, then you see your students in a leadership position. You're like, I taught this guy, I taught this lady. Yeah. Do you have something like that, Karim?
Well, at the moment, I've not started seeing my children on television, but I've started seeing my children in important places. Actually, I've started seeing my children contest for school leadership positions. I've seen my children call me and say, I'm going for this SRC position or that SRC position. I'm like, oh yeah, you can do it. I believe you can do it. I've also seen my children, not necessarily leadership role per se, but in places of influence. Yeah. For example, the first batch of BCA students I taught, I've had at least 4 of them becoming teachers.
Okay.
2 of them becoming medical practitioners now. Yes, and then I tell them, look, you are now in a position of authority.
Yeah.
So naturally, you have to assume the leadership qualities. Yeah. When I finished UCC, on my final day, my supervisor, Dr. Takweni, we were so grateful to him for how much he had guided us, right? So we didn't really know what to do to make him, to express our gratitude. Then he told us that when you go and become professionals, do what I did to you to other people.
Wow.
That's all he did.
We want to know what he did to you.
He did so much. He was always there in terms of guidance, in terms of the quality of knowledge he provided us. His patience, actually, for young professionals like us who can be very unserious sometimes, very, rowdy sometimes. And then also the time he spends to tell us what we will see in the world and how we have to be prepared for it. I think that was so much. In terms of our project work too, he was the supervisor. And he never gave us a difficult time. That got us, everyone endeared to him. And then we said, okay, how do we say thank you to this one? And said, well, you go to the world and tell them that what I did to you, I also come to the
let the legacy go on.
Yes,
carry on.
I'm sure wherever he is, he'll be proud of you.